Last week, you left a stick of butter on the counter overnight, 12 hours. At 7 a.m., it still fought the knife. It tore your toast instead of melting into it. And somewhere in the back of your head you thought, did I buy the wrong one? You didn't. Your kitchen didn't change. The stick did. We turned over the label on the store brand butter at 10 American grocery stores: Walmart, Target, Kroger, Aldi, Publix, Wegmans, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Sam's Club, and Costco. Real butter is a 2-word recipe: cream, salt. Only 3 of those 10 stores are selling you those 2 words. 7 are selling something the front of the box never mentions. And the store that built its entire reputation on clean labels, the one where you pay extra so you don't have to check, came dead last. Not because its butter is the worst thing in the case, because we ranked by betrayal, and nobody can betray you like the one you trust most. Drop the store you buy butter from in the comments right now. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where it landed. Along the way, you'll collect 4 words the dairy aisle hopes you never look up. Get all 4, and you can read any butter label in America. Let's start at number 7. First, the ground rules, because this is not a fear video. Nothing on this list is unsafe. Butter is actually one of the calmest corners of the store, the only recall that made news in recent memory. Cabot, March 2025, was 1,700 pounds flagged for a bacteria count, and 99.5% of it was caught before a single stick was sold. Safety is not the story here. The story is quieter. In 1923, Congress, not the FDA, Congress itself, wrote the legal definition of butter: milk or cream, optional salt, at least 80% milk fat, 2 ingredients and a number. That law hasn't moved in a century, and every box in this video is perfectly legal. Remember that, because it makes what's coming stranger, not better. Nobody on this list needed to break a single rule. How we judged. Each store answers for its own store brand. The box with the store's name printed on it, the one they control from churn to shelf, the one most likely in your cart. 3 checks per store: what the ingredient line actually says, what the front of the box wants you to believe, and what the public record. Label filings, settlements, court documents, ads underneath, no lab coats needed. Everything we found, you can verify from your kitchen. Because the front of the box is marketing. The ingredient line is the confession. 10 stores, 3 passed. Here are the 7 that didn't, ranked by how much trust each store charges you for. Number 7, Walmart. You expected the biggest grocer in America to be down here, didn't you? Cheapest price, most corners cut. Here's the strange part. Walmart is the only store on this list that passes and fails at the same time. Pick up great value salted butter and turn it over. Pasteurized cream, salt, clean. The largest retailer on earth sells one of the cheapest honest sticks in the country. Now reach one shelf over for the unsalted version, the one bakers grab, the one recipes call for. And the list changes: pasteurized cream, natural flavorings. Same brand. One extra passenger, riding only in the stick that's supposed to be plainer. Both boxes say sweet cream on the front, and that's your first word of the secret language. Sweet cream sounds like a bonus. It isn't. It just means the cream was never cultured, never fermented for depth the way European butter is. The base model, wearing a nice name. Hold on to natural flavorings. What that phrase actually is, that's waiting for you at number 2. Number 6, Target. Target's whole brand is curation. The store where the cart fills itself because everything feels chosen. Their grocery line is even named for it: Good and Gather, which is why this one stings. Good and Gather butter has an ingredient Target can't explain to you, because nobody has to. The unsalted sticks list pasteurized cream and natural flavors, and that second item is legally allowed to stay anonymous. So anonymous that ingredient scanner apps flag this butter as may or may not be vegetarian. The databases literally cannot tell what's inside, and the label doesn't have to say. Sit with that trade for a second. You're in the one aisle where the product is supposed to be a single ingredient, and the honest answer to what's in this butter is cream and a legal shrug. And Target has company up the shelf. Land O'Lakes and Challenge, the national brands sitting one row above, list the very same thing on their unsalted sticks. Target isn't cutting a corner the big names refuse to cut. That's what makes it worse. The corner is industry standard. Nothing dangerous, just a door in the label that only opens from their side. Before number 5, a warning. The next store's butter is one people drive past two other supermarkets to buy. Save the gas. Because stamped on the wrapper, smaller than the barcode, is proof that all that loyalty may be pointed at the wrong building. Number 5. Kroger. America's largest traditional supermarket chain, and for millions of families, simply the store. Time for word 2 of the secret language, the plant code. Every dairy product sold in America carries a small stamped code, 2 digits, a dash, a few more. The first 2 digits are a state. The rest point to the exact facility that made it. Type it into a free site called Where Is My Milk From, and the wrapper stops performing. Run it on Kroger butter and a pattern appears. Much of it comes out of West Point Dairy, a private label operation that also churns the butter sold at Albertsons, at Safeway, and yes, at Aldi. Read that again. The loyalty you feel to your store's butter can be loyalty to a building 4 chains share. Different boxes, different prices, one churn. Kroger's unsalted list? Cream, natural flavoring, the same passenger as Walmart and Target at mid-shelf prices. And here's what proves it's a choice, not a necessity. Kroger's own organic line, Simple Truth, lists pasteurized organic sweet cream and lactic acid, a named, specific ingredient instead of a mystery one. Kroger knows exactly how to print a cleaner label. The default stick, the one most carts actually hold, just doesn't get that respect. When 4 wrappers lead back to one door, the wrapper is the only thing you're choosing. Number 4, Aldi, the one that made us double-check our own notes. We walked in, expecting the discount horror story. Instead, Countryside Creamery salted sticks are pasteurized cream and salt. That's it. The box even carries the real seal. The dairy industry's own mark that what's inside is actual dairy, not a substitute. It comes out of the same American churns as brands costing more, and side-by-side reviewers can't tell it from the big names. The cheapest store in this test sells one of the cleanest sticks. So why is Aldi still on the failing side? 2 reasons, both visible in the cooler. They're unsalted. Again, adds natural flavorings. And crowding that honest stick is a wall of lookalikes. Tubs literally named Taste Like Butter, which are 45% vegetable oil spread. Water and soybean oil wearing Butter's outfit at Butter's elbow for less money. Shoppers even report the lineup quietly changing under them. A beloved olive oil spread swapped for a cheaper canola version, same shelf, new fine print. Aldi stocks the truth and the decoy in the same open case. Grab carefully. 3 stores left, and here the list turns over. Every store from this point on charges more than every store you've already seen, and fails harder. That's not bad luck. That's the whole argument of this ranking. Number 3, Publix. The slogan is where shopping is a pleasure, and the South takes it personally. People plan errands around this chain. And Publix prints a promise right on the butter box. Publix guarantee, complete satisfaction or your money back. Now check the back of the box. The promise is printed on. Pasteurized cream, natural flavor. There's the passenger again. Undefined, unexplained. And this isn't a website glitch. It's on Publix's own official smart label filing, the company's formal disclosure of what's inside. Notice what the guarantee actually covers. Your satisfaction, not the recipe. If the butter tastes fine, the promise is fulfilled, even if what you believed about it never was. You can return the butter. You can't return the assumption you made about it. A reputation like Publix's takes decades to earn, and that's exactly what makes 2 quiet words on the back so efficient. The more a store is loved, the less anyone squints at its labels. Nobody audits the beloved. Number 2, Wegmans. And this is where the scheme clicks open. Wegmans isn't just liked. It's the grocery chain that keeps topping national trust rankings, the one people beg to open in their city. And it wraps its store brand in a yellow banner, food you feel good about. No artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. Now the label, Wegmans unsalted butter, pasteurized cream, natural flavoring. Both things are true at once. That's the trick. So let's cash the promise from number 7, word 3, natural flavoring. In American unsalted butter, that phrase almost always means starter distillate. Flavor compounds like diacetyl, distilled off vats of cultured skim milk, then added to cream that was never cultured itself. A borrowed accent, sprayed on. And here's what America's test kitchen dug up. It's barely about taste. It works as a preservative, stretching unsalted butter's shelf life from roughly 90 days to 120. Salted butter doesn't need it because salt already does that job. The flavoring buys the supply chain an extra month. It buys you nothing. Look at the yellow banner again. No artificial flavors. And starter distillate is, technically, natural, so the banner never has to flinch. This is the part nobody tells you about modern labels. The game isn't lying. The game is truth, arranged carefully. The flavor isn't for you. It's for the warehouse. Number 1. Whole Foods, the store that built an empire out of what's not in your food. The famous banned ingredient list, the chalkboard values, the nickname, whole paycheck, that customers repeat almost proudly because surely the premium buys certainty. Since 2017, it's owned by Amazon, but the halo predates the logo and outlived the sale. 3 facts, no commentary needed. Fact 1. 365 unsalted butter is not just cream. The conventional sticks list pasteurized cream and lactic acid. Some 4-stick runs have listed natural flavors. Honestly disclosed, sure. But just cream and salt is the one promise this store's entire identity makes, and its own butter doesn't keep it. Fact 2. In 2015, New York City inspectors weighed 80 kinds of Whole Foods prepackaged food. All 80 were mislabeled, every single one. The city opened at $1.5 million. Whole Foods settled at $500,000, accepted quarterly audits, and the co-CEOs apologized on camera. That's not a rumor about the aura. That's arithmetic, on file, about the scales. Fact 3. Your 4th secret word, grade AA. The butter under the halo carries the same USTA grade AA as the $3 box at number 7. Because grade AA is a sensory score. A grader tastes and examines the butter and marks it against a 100-point scale for flavor, body, and texture. Around 93 points earns the letters. It measures whether butter is pleasant. It does not measure sourcing, purity, or virtue. Same letters on the fancy box and the budget box. Double the price on one of them. The front of the box is marketing. The ingredient line is the confession. And nowhere is the gap between the two more expensive. Trust is the one ingredient they never have to list. Put the scoreboard up for a second. 7 stores down. 5 of them carry the same 2 soft words in the same quiet spot. 2 of them, Walmart and Aldi, actually sell an honest salted stick and still lost because the store around the stick kept a decoy or a double standard within arm's reach. And not one violation anywhere. 7 failures, 0 broken laws. When everybody's cutting the same corner, the interesting question stops being who and becomes when did the corner get built? Pause the countdown. None of this is an accident, and none of it is a villain, either. It's a century of decisions, each one reasonable at the time. Start at 1923. Margarine is flooding American groceries, dressed up to pass as butter, and dairy farmers are furious. So Congress steps in and writes butter's legal definition into federal law. Cream, optional salt, at least 80% milk fat. 2 ingredients and a floor. It was written as a shield, to keep imitations out. Nobody imagined the floor would one day become the target, make it to 80, and stop. Then the supermarket era arrives, and butter stops being food and becomes freight. A national chain needs every stick identical in March and November in Maine and Arizona. Mild, uniform, and slow to die on a shelf. The old way, culturing cream before churning, is slow and moody. It makes butter with an opinion. So the industry moved to fast, continuous churning of uncultured sweet cream, efficient, consistent, flat, and, on the unsalted side, quicker to fade. The fix wasn't to slow down. It was a dose of starter distillate and 2 soft words, natural flavoring. The law from 1923 never imagined that either. And the same logic reached back into the cow. In 2021, locked-down home bakers in Canada noticed their butter had stopped softening on the counter. A food writer named Julie Van Rosendeel pulled the thread, and it led to palm oil supplements in dairy feed, fed to boost milk fat output. Palmitic acid melts at 145 degrees Fahrenheit. It rides from the feed bag into the cream into your butter dish. They called it Buttergate. The industry's own working group concluded the hardness couldn't be pinned on palm alone, but the recommendation that followed said everything. Farmers were asked to stop. No conspiracy. No cartoon villain in a boardroom. Just a system optimized, decision by legal decision, for speed and shelf life. And the story falls off the label, because the label was never required to carry it. Which brings us to the test you've probably seen online. Leave butter out overnight. If it stays hard by morning, it's fake. Ignore it. You now know exactly why it fails. Firmness tracks, palmitic acid from the cow's feed, plus the season, plus the region the milk came from. 100% real butter can sit stubborn on your counter all night, and a doctored stick can spread like a dream. The knife tells you about the cow's diet. It cannot tell you about the recipe. The same goes for the whole family of viral kitchen trials. The flame test, the real butter browns fake butter foams rule. Snopes went through those melt and burn food videos and filed them under misleading because every one of them reads a physical property and calls it a moral verdict. Texture isn't testimony. A knife can't read a label. You can. And yours takes 10 seconds on the back of the box for free. Now the receipt. Because the quietest numbers in this story are on yours. That 80% floor from 1923 means up to a fifth of every standard stick is water and milk solids. Perfectly legal. But do the math at the register. Buy 5 pounds of standard butter and you've paid butter money for nearly a pound of water. A baking household that runs through 20 boxes a year bought roughly 3 boxes of water, wrapped in foil, filed under dairy. Stack the trust tax on top. The Halo store's butter and the budget store's butter can wear the same grade double letters. One costs about double. And the shelf life patch you learned about at number 2? 90 days to 120. The store gained a month. Check what you gained. You paid for butter, water, and someone else's convenience. In that order. Now, the 3 that passed. And notice the twist. Not one of them is the fanciest name in the case. First, Trader Joe's. Their cultured salted butter is churned in Brittany, France, from cream that's actually fermented before churning. Live cultures, a full day. The expensive old way that most of this video has been about skipping. Then finished with sea salt. 85% butterfat. It was $3 when reviewers first fell for it. It's $4 and change now, and it is still, pound for pound, the cheapest genuinely cultured butter in America. The real version of the flavor that starter distillate impersonates. Second, Sam's Club. Members mark salted butter reads, pasteurized sweet cream, salt. Grade AA, about $11 for 4 pounds. The warehouse everyone treats as Costco's little brother sells the most boring label in this entire test. And in this aisle, boring is the trophy. Third, Costco. The box that beat everything. Kirkland, signature grass-fed. Pasteurized cream, salt. The cream comes from around 400 New Zealand farms whose herds are at least 95% grass-fed. And every supplying farm is audited annually to prove it. Compare how the famous Irish brand handles the same claim. Kerrygold has been dragged into us court twice. In 2018 over what grass-fed really means when cows eat grain all winter, and in 2023 over the word pure. Both cases fizzled, no verdicts, but the pattern is the point. One brand answers the question with an adjective. The other answers it with an audit. $10 a box, where the Irish equivalent runs $14.50. Full honesty, both directions. Costco's regular sweet cream stick had its own drama. Bakers spent 2024 arguing online that the recipe had quietly changed, and nobody ever got a straight answer. The pass belongs to the grass-fed box, specifically. At every store on this list, the verdict follows the exact box, not the logo. And if you don't hold a warehouse membership, the rule still travels with you. Walmart's salted stick was clean. Aldi's salted stick was clean. The stores lost this ranking. A specific box in their case can still win your fridge. You're not loyal to logos anymore. You're loyal to the back of the box. The winner of this list isn't a better marketer. It's the box with the least to say. 3 things you can do tonight. 1. The 2-word test. Check the back of any butter in your fridge and count the words after cream. Salt is allowed. Anything more is the shelf life patch from number 2. 10 seconds, no equipment. And run it on both your salted and your unsalted, because you now know they play by different rules. 2. Run the plant code. Find the small stamped number on the wrapper, enter it at whereismymilkfrom.com, and meet the facility that actually churned it. Try it on 2 competing store brands from different chains. Don't be surprised if they're roommates. 3. The honest melt. Microwave a stick in a clear glass, let it settle, and look at the watery layer under the gold. Fair warning, because we promise not to oversell. Every real butter carries some water, and a kitchen glass isn't a lab. This test can't convict anyone by itself. But run it on a standard stick next to a European-style one, and you'll see, in one glass, what the extra fat you've been paying for actually looks like. And if you want to go one level deeper on sourcing, the Cornucopia Institute, a farm watchdog nonprofit, publishes a free organic dairy scorecard rating over 160 brands on how their milk is actually produced. Bookmark it. It does for the farm what the ingredient line does for the churn. 4 beliefs to leave in the cart on your way out. Myth 1. Deeper yellow means more natural. Color mostly tracks what the cows ate. Grass pushes golden beta-carotene into the cream, but that 1923 law explicitly allows butter to contain additional coloring matter. Yellow is a costume, not a credential. Myth 2. Amish butter is churned by the Amish. The supermarket rolls are mostly commercial butter, produced in bulk, sometimes 40-pound slabs, cut, hand-rolled, and wrapped in parchment for the farmhouse look. One major Amish-style producer runs 20,000 pounds a day. Hand-rolled describes the packaging, not the butter. Myth 3. The little farm on the wrapper is where it's from. Ask Tillamook, the beloved Oregon creamery whose packaging leans on small coastal dairies. A class action, cleared to proceed by the Oregon Supreme Court in 2025, alleges most of its milk actually comes from one industrial operation with tens of thousands of cows. Allegations, not verdicts. But the case exists because the wrapper and the supply chain told 2 different stories. Myth 4. European style is just a markup. No. 82 to 86% butterfat versus 80 is a real, physical difference. You watched it settle out in the glass. The markup is when a store charges European prices for the 80% recipe. So here's the whole video, compressed into the 5 seconds you'll actually have in the dairy aisle. Flip the box. Count the words after cream. 0 or salt, you're holding butter. Anything else, you're holding a supply chain decision. Ignore every adjective on the front. Sweet cream, creamy, farmstead, style. The front doesn't testify. Letters aren't purity. Grade AA is a taste score, and the cheap box wears it too. And if 2 store brands are suspiciously similar, let the plant code settle it. 5 seconds. The label has to tell you the truth. It just tells it in a place most people never look. The front of the box is marketing. The ingredient line is the confession. And now you can read it fluently. Sweet cream, the base model wearing a nice name. Plant code, the wrapper's real return address. Natural flavoring, a preservative with a stage name. Grade AA, a taste score, not a halo. 4 words, and the dairy case can't talk over your head anymore. Did your store make the list? Tell me in the comments which butter is in your fridge right now, and whether it survived the 2-word test, salted and unsalted, because by now you know the difference. I read everyone. And if someone you love just paid $7 for the fancy stick because the label felt trustworthy, send them this before they do it again. Their toast deserves the truth as much as yours does.